My daughter said something was inside her glove. What I found destroyed our family. I never thought I would become the monster my child had to hide from, the kind of creature she'd whisper about in the dark, her small body trembling under the covers. It was a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary, forgettable evening that makes you believe your life is safe. I was making spaghetti, the steam fogging up the kitchen window, when my 5-year-old daughter, Lily, padded into the room. She was clutching her favorite pink winter glove, the one with the little sequined snowflake on the cuff. Mama, her voice was a tiny fragile thing. It hurts to wear it. I smiled, dismissing it as one of her whims. Sweetheart, it's freezing outside. You need your gloves. Her lower lip trembled, her big blue eyes welling with instant tears. No, Mama. It really hurts. It bites me. My heart didn't just skip a beat. It stuttered to a dead halt. Bites. A cold dread, sharp and entirely irrational, slithered down my spine. Something primal, some ancient instinct buried deep in the marrow of every mother, screamed at me. Look, I took the glove from her. It was soft, innocent. I turned it over in my hands. Nothing. Then I pushed my fingers inside, feeling along the fleecy lining. And I found it, a secret, sewn into the very fabric of our lives. A truth so devastating it would turn my kitchen, my home, my entire world into a crime scene. This is not a story about a single discovery. It's the story of how I had to tear down my own family, piece by piece, to save my daughter. It's about the day I learned that the most dangerous monsters don't live under the bed. They sit at your dinner table, they sleep in your bed, they kiss your child goodnight, and they hide their poison in a little girl's pink glove. My name is Elena. 3 months ago, I would have described my life as charmed, not perfect but solid, the kind of life you build with careful hands and a hopeful heart. My husband, Mark, was my college sweetheart. For 12 years, he was my rock. He was the kind of man who remembered to buy my favorite yogurt, who fixed the squeaky step on the porch without me asking, whose presence in a room felt like a physical anchor. He worked as a project manager. I ran a small graphic design studio from home. We were a team. And then there was Lily, our miracle, the little girl with sunshine in her laugh, and a curiosity that could power a small city. Our world orbited around her. The third pillar of our family was my mother-in-law, Clara. She had moved in with us after her husband passed away 2 years prior. At first, I'd been wary, but Clara was wonderful. She was the grandmother from a storybook. She baked apple pies that filled the house with cinnamon warmth. She knitted Lily a dozen colorful scarves, and she doted on Mark with a tenderness that made my heart ache. She called me the daughter she never had. I felt lucky. We had built a beautiful intergenerational home, full of love and support. But cracks, however fine, eventually catch the light. It started subtly. Clara began offering suggestions on my parenting. Don't you think that cartoon is a bit too loud, Elena? It might overstimulate her precious brain. Are you sure she should have a second cookie? We must think about her health. In my day, we didn't coddle children so much. It builds character to let them figure things out. I brushed it off. She was from a different generation. She meant well. Mark would often side with her gently. She just loves Lily, honey. Don't take it personally. Then Lily's behavior began to change. She became more withdrawn. The vibrant, chatty little girl started having nightmares. She'd wake up screaming about shadowy hands. She developed a strange aversion to her favorite foods, claiming they tasted sad. I took her to pediatricians, to therapists. They said it was likely a phase, maybe anxiety. They suggested routines, calming techniques. I felt like I was failing. I was trying everything, but my daughter was slipping away from me, and I didn't know why. The tension between Mark and me grew. He thought I was overreacting, becoming a helicopter mom. He'd come home from work, see the strain on my face and sigh. Elena, you're looking for problems where there aren't any. She's a kid. Kids have moods. These aren't moods, Mark. I'd plead. Something is wrong with her. Maybe you're the one who's stressed, he'd say, his voice laced with a condescension I'd never heard before. Maybe you're projecting it onto her. I started doubting myself. Was I going crazy? Was I seeing demons in the shadows of my own seemingly perfect home? The only constant, the only solace was Clara. Oh, you poor thing, she'd coo, handing me a cup of tea. You're just so tired. Let Grandma take care of Lily for a while. We'll have some special girl time. And I'd let her. Gratefully, I'd watch her take Lily's hand and lead her into the garden, and I'd feel a pang of guilt for my suspicions. This was the woman who baked pies and knitted scarves. What was wrong with me? Our home became a beautiful, spacious prison. The walls were painted in happy colors, but the air was thick with unspoken fears and my own crumbling sanity. I was losing my daughter, I was losing my husband, and I was starting to lose my mind. And all the while, the most dangerous person in Lily's life was the one tucking her in at night, singing her lullabies, and sewing secrets into the lining of her clothes. The day it happened, Lily had been particularly quiet. She'd refused to go to the park with Clara, clinging to my legs instead. Clara had just smiled a little too brightly. That's all right, my love. Grandma will be here when you're ready. Later, as I boiled pasta, Lily approached me with that glove. It bites me. The moment my fingers felt the irregularity inside the fleece, my blood turned to ice. It wasn't a lump, it was a precise rectangular object, expertly sewn into a seam, hidden from casual view. My hands trembled as I ran to the junk drawer, scrambling for a seam ripper or small scissors. I couldn't find any. Panic was rising in my throat, a metallic taste of pure fear. Mama! Lily's small voice was scared. I was scaring her. I did the only thing I could think of. I went to the stove. I turned on the gas burner. The blue flame hissed to life. Mama, no. My glove! Lily cried. It's okay, baby. It's okay. I whispered, my voice shaking as badly as my hands. I held the tip of the glove over the flame just for a second, just enough to singe and melt the threads. The fabric blackened and curled. A foul chemical smell filled the kitchen, mixing with the aroma of tomatoes and basil. With a sickening tear, I ripped the seam open, and it fell out. A small laminated card, no bigger than a postage stamp. On one side was a picture of a smiling cartoon sun, innuous, cheerful. On the other side were 3 lines of text, printed in a delicate, elegant font. Your mommy is sick. She doesn't really love you. Grandma will keep you safe. The world dropped out from under me. The sounds of the kitchen, the bubbling pot, the hum of the refrigerator, muffled into a high-pitched ring in my ears. I stared at those words, each one a shard of glass being pushed into my soul. Your mommy is sick. This wasn't a random cruel prank. This was calculated, psychological warfare waged on a 5-year-old. This was the reason for the nightmares, the food aversions, the fear. She wasn't being overstimulated by cartoons. She was being poisoned against her own mother. What does it say, Mama? Lily asked, her eyes wide with a confusion that shattered what was left of my heart. I looked at my daughter. I looked at the charred, ruined glove in my hand. I looked at the innocuous-looking card that held the power to destroy our bond. In that moment, something in me broke, and something else, something colder and harder, was forged in its place. The investigation was over. The suspect was identified. The war had just begun. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. A terrifying calm settled over me. This was no longer about my feelings. This was about evidence. This was about building a case. I knelt down, my knees cracking on the cold tile. I forced a smile, the most difficult performance of my life. It's a special message from the glove fairy, sweetie. I lied, my voice miraculously steady. She says Mama loves you more than anything in the whole world. So much it makes the glove magic. Lily's face lit up with relief and wonder. Really? Really? I pocketed the card, its edges feeling like poison. Now why don't you go pick out a book for after dinner? A special one. As she skipped away, the smile melted from my face. I was ice. I acted normal through dinner. I laughed at Mark's jokes. I complimented Clara on the salad dressing. I was a ghost at the feast, watching them, studying them. Clara was especially attentive to Lily, cutting her food, stroking her hair. Every touch now felt possessive, sinister. That night, after everyone was asleep, I became a spy in my own home. I started with Lily's room. I went through her drawers, her toy boxes, the pockets of her tiny jackets. In the toe of a winter sock, I found another one. A card with a picture of a rain cloud. Mommy's sadness can make you sick. Tell Grandma your secrets. Inside her favorite stuffed owl, tucked deep into the stuffing, was another. A card with the moon. Mommy gets angry in the dark. Grandma's room is always safe. Each discovery was a fresh punch to the gut. There were at least a dozen. A systematic, relentless campaign to alienate my child from me. The next day I called in sick to work. The moment Mark and Clara left the house, I went into Clara's room. My heart hammered against my ribs. This felt like a profound violation, but the ends justified the means. I was digging for the truth, for my daughter's sanity. Her room was immaculate, smelling of lavender and old lace. I searched her drawers, her closet, her nightstand. Nothing. I was about to give up when I saw it. Her sewing kit, a beautiful antique wooden box. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Spools of thread, needles, buttons, and there, tucked beneath a pincushion, was a small clear plastic sleeve. It was filled with identical, blank, laminated cards. Next to it was a fine-tip, archival quality pen. The tools of the trade. I took photos of everything with my phone, the hidden cards, the stash of blanks, the sewing kit. The evidence was mounting, but it was all circumstantial. I had no proof she was the one who put them there. She could claim I planted them. Mark would believe her. I needed a confession. I needed to catch her in the act. I devised a plan. I told Mark I had a last-minute, mandatory weekend conference out of town. I packed a bag, hugged Lily a little too tightly, and drove away, my stomach churning with the theater of it all. But I didn't go to a conference. I checked into a cheap motel 2 blocks away. and I set up my surveillance. Months earlier, after a spate of porch pirate thefts in the neighborhood, I'd bought a nanny cam disguised as a USB charger. I'd never used it. Until now, I returned to the house when I knew it would be empty. Mark was at work, Clara was at her book club, Lily was at kindergarten. I went into Lily's room and plugged the camera into a wall outlet, pointing it directly at her bed and her dresser where she kept her clothes. I felt sick doing it. I was turning my daughter's sanctuary into a stakeout. But I had no choice. The next 48 hours were the longest of my life. Sitting in that motel room watching the live feed on my phone, I watched Clara read to Lily. I watched her help her get dressed. I saw the loving grandmother, the perfect picture. And then, on the second morning I saw it. Lily was at school. Clara entered the room alone. She looked around, a furtive glance that sent a chill down my spine. Then she went to Lily's dresser, pulled out a pair of her favorite leggings, and sat on the bed. From her apron pocket, she produced a pre-written card and a small, travel-sized sewing kit. She was so calm, so methodical. She selected a needle and thread and began to carefully sew the card into the waistband of the leggings. I was recording it all. The proof was right there, in high definition. My mother-in-law, the woman I had welcomed into my home, was meticulously planting a seed of hatred in my child's clothing. The investigation was over. I had my smoking gun. It was time for the twist. Armed with the video, I didn't confront Clara immediately. I needed to understand why. What was the end game? This was more than just meddling. This was a long-term strategy. I started digging deeper. I began monitoring the family computer Clara used. I checked browser histories, which she always forgot to clear. Most of it was recipes, knitting patterns, and gardening tips. But then I found a search dated a few weeks back. Grandparents' rights are state name. My blood ran cold. Another search, establishing residency for child custody. And another, can a mother be deemed unfit due to mental instability? The pieces snapped together with a horrifying clarity. This wasn't just about turning Lily against me. This was about taking her from me. Clara was building a case. The evidence of my supposed instability was the very anxiety and distress she was causing in me and Lily. She was creating the problem and positioning herself as the solution. She was planning to go to court, paint me as an unfit, mentally ill mother, and sue for custody, with Mark likely siding with her out of confusion and his own filial loyalty. I felt a rage so pure and so cold it was like a nuclear winter inside me. She wasn't just trying to steal my daughter's love. She was trying to steal my daughter. I went to see a lawyer, a sharp, ruthless woman named Ms. Evans. I showed her the video, the cards, the search history. This is one of the most calculated cases of parental alienation I've ever seen, she said, her voice grim. You have enough here for a restraining order, certainly, but to stop this permanently, you need to understand her leverage. It's your husband. You need to break her hold on him. I knew she was right. Mark was the key. He was living in the same fog I had been. But how could I make him see the monster standing right beside him? The one who read him bedtime stories and packed his lunch. I had to show him. I had to make it undeniable. I planned my return from my conference. I would be calm. I would be collected. I would present the evidence like a prosecutor. But I had underestimated one thing: the depth of the poison. I arrived home on Sunday evening. Mark greeted me with a distracted kiss. Clara was humming in the kitchen. Lily was quiet, watching me with those big, uncertain eyes. I took a deep breath. It was time. Mark, Clara, I said, my voice eerily calm. We need to talk. In the living room. Now. But before I could begin, Clara stood up, her face a mask of gentle concern. She walked over to Lily and knelt down. It's okay, my darling, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. She looked directly at me, a challenge in her eyes. You don't have to be scared of mommy anymore. Grandma is here. And in that moment, I saw the final card she had to play. She wasn't going to deny it. She was going to frame me as the abuser. The air in the living room was so thick you could choke on it. What are you talking about, Mom? Mark asked, confusion knitting his brow. Clara stood, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. Mark, I didn't want to have to tell you like this, but while Elena was away, Lily finally felt safe enough to talk to me. My blood turned to ice. Talk to you about what, Clara? She ignored me, her eyes fixed on her son. She told me that sometimes when Elena gets angry, she squeezes her arms too hard. She leaves marks. The accusation was so vile, so perfectly aimed, I actually staggered back a step. She was using the very real bruises of emotional manipulation to create a fiction of physical abuse. What? Mark whispered, his face pale. He looked from his mother to me, a storm of doubt in his eyes. That is a lie, I said, my voice low and deadly. A disgusting, calculated lie. Is it? Clara's voice was soft, feigning pain. Then why did I find these hidden in her room? She reached into her pocket and pulled out 2 of the laminated cards I had secretly filmed her making. She held them out to Mark. She's been planting these, telling Lily that I'm the one who is sick, that I don't love her. She's trying to turn your daughter against you, Mark, against all of us. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of it stole my breath. She was gaslighting him on a nuclear level. She was presenting my evidence as her own Dash. Mark took the cards. His hands were shaking as he read them. Dash, Grandma's love is a secret. Don't tell Mommy. Mommy will be angry if we have too much fun. He looked at me, and for the first time in our marriage, I saw not love, not confusion, but a flicker of pure hatred. Elena, what have you done? My carefully constructed composure shattered. Me? What have I done? I grabbed my phone from my pocket, my fingers fumbling. You want to see what I've done? Let me show you what I've done. Don't you dare threaten your mother, Mark snapped, stepping in front of Clara. I was crying now, tears of rage and devastation. I'm not threatening her. I'm exposing her. I finally got the video to play. I thrust the phone at him. Look at it, Mark. Look. On the screen in stark, undeniable clarity was his mother, sitting on Lily's bed, taking a card from her pocket, sewing it into a pair of leggings with the precision of a surgeon. The audio was crystal clear. She was even humming a little tune. Mark's face went through a terrifying transformation. The anger drained away, replaced by a dawning, horrific comprehension. He watched the entire clip. Then his eyes slowly lifted from the phone to his mother. Clara's mask finally slipped. The gentle concern vanished, replaced by a cold, defiant glare. She didn't even try to deny it. You why? Mark's voice was a broken whisper. To protect what's mine, she said, her voice flat and strangely devoid of emotion. You were letting her ruin everything. Your career, your life. This child. I raised you. I built this family. She was tearing it down. I was just fixing it. Fixing it. I screamed, the sound tearing from my throat. You were torturing my child. You were poisoning her mind. I turned to Mark, my entire body trembling. She was going to take Lily from us. She was researching grandparents' rights. She was building a case to have me declared unfit. This was her plan all along. Mark looked like a man who had just witnessed an earthquake. The foundation of his entire world, his trust in his mother, had crumbled to dust in 60 seconds. He sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. You need to leave, he said, his voice muffled. My heart shattered. Mark, please. He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed, but clear for the first time in months. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his mother. Get out of my house, he said to Clara, his voice trembling with a fury I had never heard. Now, the reckoning was silent. Clara didn't plead. She didn't cry. She simply looked at her son with a mixture of pity and contempt, gathered her purse and walked out the front door, her head held high. The monster was gone, but the devastation she left behind was absolute. That was 8 months ago. Clara's gone. We obtained a restraining order. We are told she moved to another state to live with a distant relative. We have had no contact. The silence from her side of the family is deafening. The road to healing has been long and painful. Lily is in intensive play therapy. We talk about sad thoughts and tricky people, and how Mommy's love is the strongest, safest thing in the universe. Some days are good. Some days she still flinches if I move too quickly. Mark and we are in counseling. The betrayal cut him to his core. He lives with a deep, profound guilt for not seeing it, for not believing me. We are trying to rebuild our trust, brick by painful brick. The love is still there, but it's scarred, more cautious. We are learning to be a team again, without the shadow of a third member. The house is quieter now. There's no smell of apple pie. Sometimes the quiet feels like peace. Other times it feels like the echo of a bomb blast. I burned the rest of the cards I found. I watched the flames consume the poisonous words, the cartoon suns and moons turning to black ash. I thought it would feel like a victory. It just felt like cleaning up a crime scene. I saved one. The first one. The one from the glove. I keep it locked in a box, a reminder of the price of vigilance, a reminder that the most beautiful faces can hide the darkest intentions. We are a family of survivors, learning to live in the ruins. We are broken, but we are together. And some days that feels like everything. I saved my daughter, but I had to destroy my family to do it. Some days I look at my husband, at the shadow in his eyes, and I wonder, was saving her from one monster worth creating a different kind of hell for all of us?